Hello students, we'll be starting a new chapter, the digestive system. In this video we will be discussing what is the digestive system, what are its functions, what are the components of the digestive system, and what are the various parts of the mouth. First of all, what is digestion? Digestion involves the breakdown of naturally occurring foodstuff into diffusible forms. So when we eat whole food, say bread or some kind of vegetables, okay, then these are in huge chunks, right? We chew it to break it down into smaller particles, okay, to a size that is almost like a paste which can be swallowed, okay. So what happens is, as the food passes through the digestive system, the food becomes of a soluble nature, okay, and it can be readily absorbed through the membranes, because ultimately the food is going to provide the nutrition and energy. The cells of the body need that energy. How can we extract this energy and nutrients from the food in such a manner that it should be able to absorb by the cells, okay, it should be able to pass through the cell membrane. So in the primary stage, at the when we chew the food, we are breaking down the food into smaller particles, but as it passes through the digestive tract in the stomach, there is an action of the acids and various enzymes, and also further down there are the different small intestine, large intestine, the pancreas, the liver, all of these contribute some enzymes, okay, they secrete some enzymes which break down these particles, okay, these food particles into their chemical constituents, okay. So for example, if we are eating some rice, okay, or bread, then it has a starch, and these enzymes are able to release the glucose from that starch, and you know that glucose can be utilized by the cells for energy, for respiration, okay. So enzymes are that miraculous workhorse who are going to ultimately break down the food. So what is the nature of these enzymes? What is the nature of these enzymes? The enzymes are made up of proteins, okay, they are proteinaceous in nature. So enzymes are made up of protein. They may also have other constituents, okay, some metal factors and so on, to make its activity much better, but ultimately they are made up of proteins. Therefore when they are heated, then what happens? They get destroyed, okay, their activity gets destroyed. So just like when we boil an egg, okay, then the albumin that is there in the egg, it gets, what happens to that, it becomes hard, right? So it gets denatured, we say it is denatured. On heating, what happens is the protein also loses its activity, and it is, we say that it is destroyed, okay. And another very important feature of the enzymes is that it is very specific, Okay, so if there is an enzyme that is going to break down starch, for example, it will not break down any other compound. Okay, for example, cellulose, it will not break down cellulose, it will not break down glycogen, it will not break down fats, it will break. So what is the important point here? Enzymes are very specific. Okay, then they also, what the end product they are going to form. Okay, reactant, enzyme activity giving rise to product. So the enzyme is very specific with the reactant, and also what product it is going to form is also very specific. So any number of times you see that it is going to produce the same end product. Okay, also the chemical reaction, it only affects the rate of the enzyme affect only the rate of the chemical reaction, and generally it speeds up the rate, the reaction. Okay, so the rate of reaction is speeded up. Okay, so if for example, we will see so many enzymes throughout the chapter. In a normal situation, spontaneously, if that reaction has to take place without the enzyme, it will be very slow. But if it is taking place in the presence of enzyme, then in very short time we will be able to get more amount of product. So that's what we say, that the rate of the reaction is speeded up. So these are nothing but what you can say biological catalysts. Okay, so in chemical catalyst, so generally we will have the nature is say some kind of enzymes, and the some kind of metals and so on. So here we can say the enzymes are biological catalysts, and they can be reused, they can be reused. Okay, small amount of the enzyme may get destroyed over a period of time, but small amount of the fraction still remains and can be reused. The activity of this enzyme is optimum at a particular pH and at a particular temperature. Okay, that means what? Suppose if an enzyme is working in the stomach, okay, to break down the food. So in the stomach there is an acidic environment. So that kind of enzymes, if you are taking and you want to do the same reaction in alkaline environment, then that enzymes are not able to give the proper activity. Okay, so each enzyme will have a certain pH at which its activity will be the best. Same way temperature. So in the body, our body temperature is we say 98 degree Fahrenheit. So that is 37 degree centigrade. So if we isolate some enzymes from the body and we try to do that in a test tube, the reaction at a much lower temperature or a much higher temperature, whether it will give a good reaction, it will not give the good reaction. Okay, so that is the temperature and pH, both of them are optimum for the enzyme activity to take place. Okay, next we will be looking at the digestive system in detail. The digestive system itself consists of the alimentary canal, okay, and its associated glands. Okay, alimentary canal and associated glands. So what we see, this is a tube like structure that is starting from the mouth. Okay, the tube like structure that is starting from the mouth, okay, all the way down it is going, okay, through the stomach and the small intestine. This is called the alimentary canal, and also associated with them are some glands. What we are seeing are highlighted inside the boxes like this. Okay, sublingual gland, parotid gland, submandibular gland, liver, pancreas. Okay, all of these are the glands. Okay, what glands will do? Glands will secrete. So before this we have seen the endocrine and exocrine glands. okay, in your earlier classes. So then whether this salivary gland is a endocrine gland or exocrine gland? It is a exocrine gland because it is releasing its product through the tube like structure, through a duct. Okay, so these are the glands which are what we say as the exocrine glands. Okay, some of these glands are also endocrine function, for example pancreas. Okay, they produce the hormones insulin and glucagon, which are the endocrine function. Now let us see what are the different parts of the alimentary canal and what are the different glands. Parotid gland, submandibular gland, sublingual gland, all three of these are the salivary glands. Okay, at the base of the tongue we are seeing the sublingual gland. Okay, on the upper mantle part we are seeing the parotid gland. This is called the buccal cavity. Esophagus is the pipe like structure all the from the mouth up to the stomach. Okay, and here we have the cardiac splinter. Okay, what is its role? Its main thing is that once the food has entered into the stomach, it should not go backwards again. Okay, so in small children this thing is not very much developed. As person ages, this gets developed better. Then we have the diaphragm. Okay, diaphragm is not part of the digestive system, so it is separating the respiratory system on the top from this one. Okay, diaphragm. And here we have the stomach. Okay, spleen. Okay, what is the function of the spleen? The spleen is going to be the where there is going to be the recycling or the end of the RBC cells. Okay, the pyrolic splinter. Okay, what we have, the cardiac splinter on the top. This is the closure towards the down, the lower part of the stomach, pyrolic splinter. Then we have the liver, hepatic duct. Okay, whatever the secretions that are going to come from the liver will enter into the hepatic duct. Gallbladder. Okay, the gallbladder is going to produce some kind of the juices. Okay, bile juices that we will be seeing enters by the common bile duct. Okay, then we have the duodenum. Okay, duodenum is this curved structure that is from the stomach up to the initial part of the small intestine. Okay, so this initial part of the small intestine is known as the jejunum. Okay, and the more distal part is known as the ileum. From there it enters into the large intestine. Okay, so here what we say, appendix is present. Sometimes it is considered as the vestigial organ. This is the cecum, ascending colon, transverse colon, descending colon, rectum and anus. So in this way the food has to pass through the different parts of the alimentary canal, and it is exposed to the activity of the enzymes from the various glands. Okay, so what is the first part that the digestion has to start? It is going to start from the mouth. So the mouth or the oral cavity, the food gets chewed. Okay, and we know that it has the different parts. The mouth has the different parts, which includes the lips. Okay, that is for the closing the mouth, sucking and sipping the liquids, speaking, and also in perceiving certain sensations. Okay, the muscular tongue. Okay, it is help in the manipulating the food while chewing and mixing with the saliva, swallowing, tasting, cleaning the food particles to the teeth after eating, and speaking. Here the important part is about the dentation. Dentation is the arrangement of the teeth. Okay, so the teeth help us to perform the different functions, not just chewing. It is a cutting, tearing. Okay, so the what we are seeing here is a set of adult human teeth. They will be the 32 teeth. So here we are seeing the quarter part is up to 8. Okay, 8 plus 8 16, 16 into 2 32, 32 teeth will be there. So one is, what are the different types of teeth? One is the incisors. Incisors. Okay, what is incisors? There are the four front teeth in the center of each jaw. They are broad. Okay, you can see these are broad. So you say 1 2, okay, 3 4, top and bottom. These incisors, they help in cutting, okay, the food. Okay, they are sharp like a chisel. They're used for biting and cutting. Biting and cutting. Okay, then we have the canines. Okay, canines are there, one on each side. You see these ones, canines. They are much more developed in carnivorous animals. They will be protruding outwards. Okay, like in the lion, in the dogs, in cats. Okay, what are these? Are all canine family. So canines, they are having the conical and sharply pointed these teeth, canines, and they are helping the tearing of the food. Okay, so whenever there is things like meat and so on, that has to be tiered. So that is canines. Then we have the premolars. Okay, premolars, there are the two on each side in each jaw next to the canines. Each premolar has two hill like projections. Okay, we can see two hill like projections, and they are the cusps on the surface. So that is also known as the bicuspid. Okay, they help in the grinding and crushing the food. Grinding and crushing the food. The molars, they are the last three teeth. Okay, these are the last three teeth, and on each side of the jaw, they have a larger surface than the premolars, and they are also helping the grinding and crushing. And the last molar in each teeth, okay, the last molar in each teeth is called the wisdom teeth. This wisdom teeth, it is it appears only after the age of between 70 to 20 years, around this time. Okay, when the human body is reaching the maturity. So in this way we can see that in the humans there are the different set of teeth. Okay, so we are the this kind of arrangement, they are known as the heterodont. Okay, so in which the mammalian teeth are having different in shape. Hetero means different. This is a other, that is the homodont. Okay, that means that are the similar teeth, are all of the teeth are similar. So this you can see generally in the case of lizards and frogs. All teeth are of the same type. Okay, now in mammals, the teeth can appear as the development is going on. So for a child, okay, human child, say up to 2 years, how do we write the formula arrangement of the teeth, starting from the incisors, canines, premolars, molars. Okay, this is like the top one, top jaw, and this is the lower jaw. Okay, we add up all of these and then it comes to 20. These are known as the milk teeth. Okay, similarly for adolescent, that is between 17 to 20 years, the arrangement will be incisors, canines, premolars and molars, 2 1 2 2. Okay, the same arrangement is both in the top and bottom. They are 28. These are known as the permanent teeth. Okay. Now for adult, what happens? The wisdom teeth is formed, therefore it will become 2 1 2 3. Okay, 2 1 2 3. Then we will get a total of 32 teeth, because that is the permanent teeth plus 4 wisdom teeth. Okay, so in this way the different types of teeth in the mouth, they help in the different functions. In our next class we'll look into the structure of the tooth, and also we will cover some aspects of the salivary glands. Thank you.